Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another week of the Jobsticker's Jobseeker Resource Show. I'm Matt Warzel, president of MJW Careers. And thank you again for joining. As always, every Wednesday at 2 p.m. However, next week, we will not be live, as next week I will be out of the office. But usually almost every every Wednesday at 2 p.m. right here. And actually starting in 2 weeks, I'm going to be doing this live on LinkedIn. I finally got approved for LinkedIn Live, so we're gonna try that out in a couple of weeks. We'll see how that goes. But I will share the information with you. But be sure to check my LinkedIn profile in the interim, as I will publish a notification about where it's going to be. I still have to figure out the system. I think I'm going to be using a platform called StreamYard, but I will absolutely share the details. But thank you again for joining today. And I apologize, I'm a little under the weather, but I got a little bit of a summer cold going. But rest assured, we're gonna make it happen. Today, I'm going to go through, and we're going to do a on-the-fly answers to some Quora questions. And I'll pick a handful here, and we'll just kind of run through and see just what we can learn about resume writing, interview coaching, and career coaching. So first, let's start with this question here. Let's see. Okay, what should I put on my resume for a sales associate? Well, if you're a sales associate, you definitely want to make sure you put sales on there. You definitely want to have more metrics-based resume, and this goes for anybody. You want as much metric, KPI, percentages, value, kind of dollar value as you can, especially if you're in sales. If you're in sales, it's almost a mandate. I always tell my clients it's a three-pronged approach when you're developing your statements on your resume. One, is there a metric? Is there a KPI, bottom line impact? Two, does it relate to the role? Because that gets hiring managers excited. It resonates with the reader, resonates with the recruiters, and makes it look like, hey, you can handle what they have going on. Or three, something that's really unique and neat. So I always use the adage of like maybe an award, or maybe you spoke at a conference, or just a neat project of maybe you salvaged a customer that was going to leave. So things like that. You're featured in a newspaper. But if you're in sales, the number one thing on your resume should be sales data. If it's confidential data at your company, do not list it, because you don't want to get in trouble for putting out those numbers. So you must feel comfortable enough to do it. If you cannot put out actual sales numbers, you could generalize. Maybe you captured hundreds of thousands of dollars, or captured large volume of sales, and let the interviewer ask you during the interview just exactly what that number was. That way it's not on the public forum that is LinkedIn and your resume when it's being sent. So it just depends on your comfortability. Let's see. Let's get another question here. And it's so funny because usually they have like just 100 of these things. Okay, here we go. How do I print a 2-page resume? You print it. Okay. How can I write a resume that reflects today's lockdown period positively? So if you have been laid off because of COVID, or are struggling to kind of explain the gap that exists because of COVID, the number one thing that I'm seeing, and that I agree with, and that a lot of my colleagues, we all kind of are putting our heads together and thinking about, is that make it known. Put it in your cover letter, a little blurb, was recently made redundant, or went through a layoff or a mass downsizing because of COVID-19, period. Now on your resume, let's say you had a job until March 2020, and from March 2020 to present, you don't have anything. You can list it as almost like you are unemployed because of COVID, and maybe hash out some of the little details that you've been doing in the interim. So if you've completed continuing education, you were volunteering, you were upskilling and acquiring certification, you were volunteering at a friend's company and helping him or her with whatever their responsibilities were, whatever you've been doing, you can kind of make that the experience as that part that says laid off because of COVID. It is completely acceptable. They're not going to look down on you or anything like the negative connotations that might have existed prior to COVID. So just be honest and keep it simple too. Don't make it as lengthy as some of the goods, the goods that you were doing prior to getting laid off. Get to the point. Open source contribution in my CV. Was a proper way to mention an open source contribution in my CV? I'm the open source stuff. So when it comes to, if you have any sort of technical prowess that you're trying to mention, keep it for its own section. And by that I mean like the acronyms or the actual software that you're using, make it its own section. You don't want to inundate the reader with a bunch of technical lingo throughout your experience and that kind of thing. I mean, if you want your experience, your summary, you want those sections to really be more operational based, kind of how you impacted the bottom line, how you got your job done and did it correctly, and what was the outcomes by doing those tasks that you were performing. Again, achievements, that's what reigns supreme on resumes. Make them achievements. So when you start bringing them down with some technical jargon throughout the whole entire resume, it just either slows them down or they're just confused because they maybe are a recruiter like me who's in marketing, and I'm like very macro level, bird's eye view of what you've been doing, and I'm recruiting. So I'm like, okay, I kind of understand what I got to get done here in terms of who I got to find and vet, but I don't really know exactly what the nitty gritty of an IT person in that particular role is going to be doing every day. So you just want to make sure you save that for the interviewer and list your technical jargon under a technical aptitude section. That's the best way to mention that kind of stuff. And again, with open source, you can just casually mention something like that in a summary and maybe one of your experience little sentences, and then move on from it and then elaborate about the actual environment you were working in under that technical aptitude. Should I put my major GPA or overall GPA? This is good. Whatever's higher, because GPA is one of those things where I put it on there because it's easy enough. It doesn't take much room. I put mine in little parentheses after the actual degree that is earned. And then I'll put like a little hyphen and maybe, or like a separator, and then maybe put like cum laude or summa cum laude or whatever your honors was. And then that's it. So it still fits on one singular line. BS, comma, accounting, parentheses, 3.1, cum laude, end of parentheses, comma, Ohio State University. Leave it at that and go on with it. Whichever one you're going to put, they'll put whatever's higher, and then let them ask you if they want to ask you. They might ask if they're actually concerned about GPA. Maybe it's an early career role. Just be honest with them then and say, oh, that's for marketing, or oh, that one is for the business school, or that one was my overall, whatever. But for as far as on the resume itself, whatever's highest. How correct is it to write on a landing page to get pictures of my done jobs? I do not understand that. How do I list references in a cover letter? You don't. References do not go anywhere except for on a reference sheet. So when you have this set up, you want name, phone number, email, where you worked at with them, what was their relationship with you, and then a one sentence little blurb, this person, he was my manager, she was my manager for 4 years, and it was my latest manager, or like something that's just kind of very matter of fact about your relationship with that person after the actual title and relationship or what their title was at that company. So you don't have to make it very long. They just want to know, can they reach the person? Was it your boss, quote unquote? If so, they're going to go from there and vet you accordingly and check the reference. But yeah, don't list it anywhere other than on its own reference sheet. They'll ask for it, and it'll come. How can one get an administrative assistant's resume on the web? I love some of these questions. It's like, well, you just post it. How do you get a larger name in a resume class? So who's in need? Okay, sorry guys, this is like totally some broad questions right here. Okay, I think, let's see if there's any other ones. Great tips to make LinkedIn profile better. Here you go. So your LinkedIn profile, so as far as visibility, fill out everything as much as you can and let it pre-populate. So if you have a company that you worked at and it starts to fill it in for you, click it so it fills it in automatically for you. Pre-populate, auto-populate. That is the key for recruiters that want to then find you. They can then search that actual company rather than you typing it in on your own manually. And then visibility, again, filling as much as you can in. As far as tips to make it better, interact with people, comment on posts, and bring some sort of knowledge to the post. Don't just say great post and move on. Say great post, and this had me think that this is something I believe in, and explain it. It doesn't have to be super long, maybe a little chunk of a paragraph, but the more you're engaging with people and bringing them actual like insight and value, the better you're going to be and the more visibility you're going to get, because more people are going to come to your page then. And you don't know who's going to be looking at that post later, wondering who you're about, and they're going to come check you out. So that's the best thing you can possibly do, is constantly be monitoring the like-minded people in your space, or managers or potential recruiters that would work in that space, and then being on their radar. And then finally, have a really solid headshot, background, header, that little title thing at the very top, that little the headline, and then your about me section. Those are going to be the first thing people see. Put the most time into those. The more you can present yourself as someone who has quality to offer and value to offer, the more enticing it will be. The more like generalized you are, the worse it's going to be. The more poignant in terms of, like, if your header says you're production manager and that's it, okay, but maybe you can say something like production manager for 20 plus years in the automotive industry, that has sustained, QS 9000 compliance throughout entire tenure, or something that relates to what production managers are responsible for in the automotive sector and what you're most proud of. Have that be a little bit of a headline. You don't need to make it super long. I kind of rambled there a little bit, but button it up, tighten it up, make it relevant. People like that. It sticks out way more than just a general title. And please put your contact information on LinkedIn, because recruiters sometimes won't be able to in-mail you depending on what they have going on, or they might not be able to send you a friend request or connection request. Who knows, whatever the situation is. So make it easy for everybody. Just put your email at least on your LinkedIn under your contact information, so people can find you, and or not only find you, but they can actually contact you if there might be an opportunity. So that is today's. Thank you for joining in here. We got Tanisha's back. And yes, do you have any questions for me today, Tanisha? Anybody? Or Michael or Kara? Nice to meet you guys. And again, I won't be on next Wednesday. I will be there the following Wednesday. Okay, perfect. No, not today. I will be on there the following Wednesday. We're having some family in town next week. So, and it will be on LinkedIn Live. So I will make sure I make that known in the LinkedIn event page that I put out every week, as well as on my LinkedIn profile. So please check in there for the link, or actually just join in my LinkedIn profile, because that's where it's going to be at in 2 weeks, and we will go from there. So thank you guys, the new folks joining in, appreciate it. This will be on YouTube momentarily, so if you want to watch it on replay. And I thank you for your time, and make it a good week, guys.
Hey Matt, I'm sorry, I have a real quick question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for the invite today. I'm brand new on the meeting, but so I don't know if this is the right platform to ask this or not, but I'm on LinkedIn, of course. And I am now recruiting for some pretty difficult engineering positions in the company I'm working with. And I don't have LinkedIn Recruiter. It's pretty expensive. So I just didn't know if you had any tips for recruiting without having LinkedIn Recruiter on LinkedIn. Does that make sense?
It does, absolutely. And I'm not as familiar with LinkedIn Recruiter, the software itself either, so I couldn't really tell you. I heard that it's good, but and robust, but again, I've never really gone through that. But I have a ton of Boolean search strings that are for LinkedIn searching, and it will totally help you narrow down some of your searches. I'd be glad to share it offline with you in an email, as I kind of collect these for my own to find clients on my own. But it would totally work for recruiters. And in fact, I'll even turn you on to a girl that produces a newsletter about LinkedIn recruiting and how to use the search capabilities without necessarily being on LinkedIn Recruiter. That's what she's kind of proud of, is workarounds. So I'd be glad to share that with you. I don't want to like completely go into it right now because it's kind of detailed, but I'd be glad to share some of these search strings with you and let you kind of plug and play with them this week. And we can even see if how it worked with you and allow me to maybe find some other information for you.
Yeah, that would be very helpful. And that's exactly what I'm looking for. So thank you.
Oh yeah, no problem. It's all about narrowing the search when you got whatever billion people on it.
Right. And it's, I've noticed that I can't reach out to anyone unless I, do a personal invite. And I didn't want to personally invite, and put somebody in my network as trying to, recruit candidates quite yet. So just getting creative. Thank you.
Oh, absolutely. And I believe, we emailed right today? I'm almost positive I sent you.
Yes, you emailed me the link to today's call. So
perfect.
Yes.
I will tee up a little reminder here and I'll send it to you, as well as the newsletter that you should subscribe to. I use it. This girl is amazing at what she finds, and she makes these little code pages. It's CS something. I don't think they're CSVs, but they're this code page where you actually start typing in things on like Google and it'll spit out only LinkedIn people. Like,
wow,
you got to see it. It's wild.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
Yeah, I'll send to you right now.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys. Well, hey guys, have a great rest of your day and a good week. And I will see you guys in 2 weeks.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.